What's up? How you doing, people? It's your boy, Detroit Kool-Aid. I'm rocking out with Mr. Everything, Jeff Iafredi. And let's get that drum roll going. Hey, yo, we got Mr. Detroit News, Rod Beard, the legend in the building, as usual. And we got a lot to discuss. We have a lot to unpack here, man. We really do.
Yes, we do.
We really do. Because, you know, Rod, I heard he went down to Vegas, but since y'all are family, he's actually going to give us at least something, share something with us. Not everything that happens in Vegas has to stay there, Rod. So let us know, man, anything you could tell us about your Vegas experience, your trip there, any of our prospects, Cade, Sadiq as well, anything, man.
Nothing really. I mean, we got to interact with them a little bit more
Bro, he's not trying to
than we did last year at Summer League. There are no secrets.
I saw him by the. I saw you by the pool.
Ooh.
With James. You guys were living it up.
Oh, that's a Vegas must. It's
yes, absolutely. Get some pool time,
because it was 113 degrees on Saturday.
113.
It was 112 on like Thursday or Friday, and then it was 113 on Saturday. And it's like, look, man, this is not. I think I told you guys before. It's like when you open the door to an oven, and that's the breeze that comes through. And it first hits you. That's the breeze that comes through, if you even want to call it a breeze. So it's just hot for no reason at all. So a lot of people like to stay on the Strip. I don't stay on the Strip. It's just not for me, not my thing. So the resort that I stay at, it's a JW Marriott. It's probably 15 minutes away from the Strip, but it has its own pool, and it is glorious. Those are the photos that I post every year. Yeah. So I will give you this. At this resort, there is a golf course next to it, across the street from it, but you get the putting green as part of your stay. You get to do the putting green.
Hey, that's nice.
And I'm thinking it's just a putting green where you just like come and putt around, and there are just a bunch of holes. No, this is a putting course where you play 9 holes of just putts.
Yo,
so it's par threes, putts, and these are like 100-foot putts that you got to figure out a way. But it's got the whole architecture and everything else. There are hills, there are little spots in there, and there's
So this is way more close to like golf than it is like putt or miniature.
Exactly. I mean, so but it's
awesome.
You being on the green, and
that's
it's
awesome,
9 holes.
Should have that. My backyard should have that.
Well, no, this is on a golf course. This is on a golf course that's across the street from the hotel. So
awesome.
James and I are just trying to kill some time in the morning, and it's probably 89, 90 at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we're like, you know what? Let's get out and do this course. I just mashed him up something terrible. He's putting. All you have is a putter. You don't have a wedge or anything else. So he's putting into bunkers. He putted into the water on one of the holes, and I posted some pictures of that too.
You had to show him something, huh?
Had to show him. All it is like keep it out of the water, keep it out of the bunkers. And I got in the bunkers, but I got out pretty good. He got just. But that's my guy. James is absolutely my guy.
James, man, you're going to have to tell us what happened, man. You're going to have to tell us what happened. Next year, Jeff, bro, when we're there next year, we're going to have to show him how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, if y'all going next year, I got to go next year.
But, yeah, man, no, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Did you have any perspective on, like, the environment or any of the players or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I think there's we did get to talk after one practice to players. And it was very like they wanted to win this thing. What Isaiah Livers said was when they saw the rings, that they were giving rings for winning Summer League. He's like, whoa, wait a minute. We playing for something now? We got something that's out here? But obviously and that was something that he had talked to the other guys about. But I mean, obviously, when you look at what else happened after that with the Ivey injury, Duren almost having an injury, Saban being in a walking boot, all of the wind kind of went out of those sails of them winning Summer League when they just don't have a point guard anymore. And Killian not playing after the first game. You don't have a point guard. And so I joke about Charlie Moore as being their guy, but I mean, 13 and 5 assists, not bad. He had 7 assists in the Saturday game. So, but you don't have a starting level point guard. So it's going to be, and your roster is completely depleted. You don't have a real opportunity to win.
And you know what? That's why I was kind of pushing for more of your perspective and everything, because it speaks to what these guys are, and it helps us to not overact too much, which we are going to. We have to try and figure out what we saw so far, what it means. And so there will be some overreactions, but I'm glad that you stated what you stated, that these guys are down there working on specific things. They're down there working to get better. When they see that there's a prize to be won, I love that there's a gear that these guys switch into. I think that that's something really, really key, because, you know, that they'll shut down a player in a heartbeat. We saw them just shut down Killian Hayes, and I do believe it puts a little bit more oomph to the next guy up. You know, so we did see some nice things from Buddy. We did see some nice things from Charlie Moore. I thought we saw some different things from Jalen Duren that shows that it was good. Rogelio, Woodward Tigers was good. But, you know, yeah, I'm glad you did that. But let's get into this Summer League recap and overreaction. Jeff, what has been your takeaway so far with Summer League? Like, obviously, I know everyone was a little disappointed, but understanding that Jaden Ivey wasn't going to play. But overall, man, what's been your biggest takeaway, and more concentratedly over last night's game with Jalen Duren?
Well, with the young guys like Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, I don't really have much of a takeaway, because I got what I expected, especially out of Jaden Ivey. Like I've seen enough out of him, especially the 11 points in 5 minutes that he tweaks his ankle, and the shooter not giving him space to land. So I didn't really need to see much more out of Jaden Ivey. He's ready to play. The one that really stuck out to me, though, two people, Isaiah Livers and Isaiah Stewart. Those two in the Summer League, especially Isaiah Stewart, being able to step back and hit that three-point shot consistently as he's been playing. We'll see how it translates to the regular season, but honestly, that's been the most impressive. See it, confidence, that's the key. And Isaiah Livers as well, like defensively, telling guys where to go, defensively calling guys out, being that leader. I mean, we know Cade's the leader, but Isaiah Livers is like, you always need one of those role players that are just going to step up and call things out. And that was Livers, man. He was hitting shots. He was making big-time plays defensively. So it's really those two guys, because, you know what you're getting out of most of these guys, especially, you know, City, Cade, Jaden Ivey, but it's the others. Like Kid Livers possibly, like, considering how he played in Summer League, he's going to get a much bigger role this season. Same with Isaiah Stewart. I think he'll be starting Stewart as well. Now you could play Stewart next to Duren with a shooting ability. So those two guys are really what stuck out to me the most out of everybody. I was a little disappointed I didn't get to see Killian more, but other than that, it's probably Livers and Stewart. Beef stew.
Yeah. And, you know, man, 3-point Stu, I love what he's doing. I love how confident he's looking. I love the fact that he didn't come in and look like he's working on threes. He just came out here to say, like, Coach, I'm here, bro. Yeah. I've been working already. And I love that. I love that from Beef Stew. And it wasn't just that. I saw a little bit different tenacity inside. I want to continue to see that grow more and more. And like you said with Isaiah Livers, it's something with those Michigan guys. You know, because Jordan Poole, they just kind of have a certain cool, calm collectedness that just runs through their veins as young players poised, that doesn't make sense at all, man. They're poised on the court, off the court. I heard his quote about Jaden Ivey saying, you know, yeah, he's talented. You know, he's a great kid and all, but more than anything, you know, he's a great teammate. Yeah. You know, and that's awesome, because that speaks to not just, you know, who Jaden Ivey is, but the type of person that Isaiah Livers is. And it's cool, man. It's very selfless individual, very team-oriented, somebody who's not necessarily driven by the amount of touches he has, because you see him go out there and try and operate in many different ways. And other people would probably be like, why spend time on last year's second-round pick? It's because of all the things that he showed. You know, a lot of Michigan fans were called slappies when they said, oh, he's gonna do well at this next level to some degrees. And the book is still out to be written. We've seen the flashes. But from what I saw in Summer League, I liked it. I was hoping to see him last night, but you know, obviously it's Summer League. There's some looks that they're trying to get to other people, probably some different positions and such that they're trying to see other players in. So
yeah, absolutely.
But and I think they got spooked. Maybe it feels to me like they got a little spooked by the injury bug, and Saban's especially that. Yeah, we're just not going to put anybody else in harm's way that we don't need to. And I think they want to see it from Duren because he wasn't able to practice, and they just want to see him get into a good flow. But there was no real reason to keep Livers out before last night. And then it was just, well, look at all these. And I think he said at one point in one of the quotes, he was looking forward to playing all of the games in Summer League. And then he's sitting there in street clothes. The thing about Livers that really stuck with me was defensively, you mentioned it with the communication, but it's just, I was looking at the roster and saying, in terms of balance, yeah, you've got Hamidou who can play some three, and Burks maybe can slide over and play some three, but you're missing that other small forward that can really plug the gap for you. If Sadiq, you're assuming he's going to play some three, but what happens after that? Well, you got this mishmash of guys. Livers looks to me like he is a legit backup three or backup four if you need it that way. And we talked about roster versatility where so many guys can move around and you can play so many different combinations. Livers can be a three or a four, whatever you need him to be. And it's leading me to believe like they've got extra pieces. You might see a trade somewhere because they've got so many front court pieces now that maybe Livers you looked at as a guy who wasn't maybe ready for a ton of minutes. And Summer League, it's Summer League, but what he's done in the regular season and the way that he mans that defense and he's the quarterback of that defense and just communicates so well and does so many other things. He's a second round pick, but he's a guy who can, you feel good about where he's going and what his trajectory is.
I try to caution comparing players, especially second-round picks, to established champions. But we always say comparisons and arcs and such. And I think in terms of the role, obviously he can shoot the three much better than the player I'm going to mention, but he reminds me a little bit of kind of Draymond Green. I believe the effect he has on defense, the effect he has as a kind of a connector, as a vocal guy, not in terms of them being the same type of player, but in terms of that role. Yeah. You know, I just see him kind of as that guy, just a little bit more mature. Obviously, a lot more polite, you know, a lot less talkative, going to get a lot less technicals. But I don't know. I believe if he's given this opportunity to kind of grow into what we've seen him be, we could see him be one of those guys who could be another help, another leader without really having to have his own space, without having to, you know, have the ball, without really having to have the room and command of this. You know, we see where that hierarchy is right now, and to be able to have players like that, I believe it tremendously helped Golden State Warriors to have a guy like Andre Iguodala who knew what he was but wasn't going to come in and rock any boat. Just kind of be that same type of player, a connector, play hard on defense, talk, you know, and be there to hit some big shots when it's needed. Right. And that's what I'm hoping at the very least Isaiah Livers can be as he continues to grow. He's somebody who, if I had to put my money one way or the other, I'm betting that he's going to be at some point in time some type of an impact role player for, if not this team, some team. I believe his pedigree, just kind of what I've seen from him so far in the flashes that he's hit on, I'm looking forward to it, especially if he can hit that shot the way he showed in game, 2? I believe it was 3 or 5, and he just looked comfortable. I loved how, you know, we talk about intelligent players, IQ players, how he can find his spots to hit the threes. Isaiah Livers in some of those threes that he hit in game 2, Jaden Ivey on one of them crossed over, played off the pick and roll, was kind of going baseline and really had nowhere else to go. And Isaiah Livers kind of moved from the corner up to from the corner up to not necessarily all the way at the top of the key, but just kind of short, you know, on that short kind of angle, wide open. And those are the things I like to see. Whereas sometimes you will see some of these other players just kind of still stand in the corner rather than move to the open spot. Make yourself available for the player. And when you have a guy like Jaden Ivey who can sometimes move at 150 miles an hour, you're not 150%, sometimes you can get yourself in some trouble, especially as a young player. These defenses are going to try and play his speed, his athleticism. And we saw him do it in college. Sometimes when he gets into a place, it happened the first half of the first game. And I think, the first half of that first game where he was just kind of going in, a little bit erratic, and can kind of getting lost in his passes and such. So a guy like Isaiah Livers helps all the way around if he's somebody that can pan out, you know, if he can meet the marks that we believe he can meet. And like I said, I'm not trying to be overblown with the second-round pick, but with what he showed already in the NBA, I'm excited to see what goes from here. I mean, he started off last year injured. You know, he didn't really get a summer. So this is a big summer for him just as much as it is for the next individual I'm going to talk about, and that's Killian Hayes. I know we all wanted to see a little bit more out of him. My feeling, my inkling, for whatever reason, is that is that the team saw what they needed to see out of Killian. Maybe he didn't score the ways that we thought he needed to score, but in terms of the way that the team played, the offense played, when he was out there on the court and his defense and such, maybe they just felt like, especially, I know he got shut down, before the injury bugs?
Yeah, it was one game he played him.
One game?
Yeah, just after the first game. Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. To me, he just looked the part. I know a lot of people are overreacting. I know a lot of people wanted to see him, and we wanted to see him be a little bit more aggressive on offense, but it just didn't seem like that was his to do. We saw him right out the gate go to Ivy and then Duren.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you can put me in that underwhelmed category with him, that as a third-year guy, if you're coming in to Summer League, you should be impacting the game. You should be a standout guy. You're the varsity guy playing against JV guys. You should be able to impact the game in a different way. And I didn't see that defensively from him. And I didn't see offensively that, I mean, just controlling the offense, that's one thing, but I wanted to see something superlative from him. And maybe that's asking a lot. Maybe that's just not his role. And that hasn't been his role, that he's going to be a big scorer. And in the past, I've always said he's not going to score 15, 20 points a game for you. He's going to be 10 points and 5 or 6 assists. That's what you want to see out of him. I just didn't, the eye test just wasn't there for me. And I don't even remember his stats from the first game, but the eye test didn't say, hey, this guy is good and locked and loaded and ready to go when the season starts.
Yeah, I'm with Rod on this one. I was a little underwhelmed when I watched him. And I get controlling the game, controlling the offense, but my point was, because I don't like the argument if he should have took more shots that game, I don't agree with, because if you watch the game and you watch the tape,
right,
like, a lot of these situations, like it would have just been a terrible shot. So I get, like, IQ, good for Killian. But for me, selfishly, like, yes, his role come the regular season, but it's not the same role in the Summer League. Like, he is a starting point guard in the Summer League. You're going to be playing a majority of these minutes. You're playing with, like Rod said, inferior talent. Go out there and just show things. Like you said, varsity playing against JV players, and that was my problem. It's like, you have such a significant role in the Summer League. I'm not mad they were going to shut him down eventually. It's just, I wish he would have played 1 or 2 more games, to be honest. Like Beef Stew, he didn't play last night, but he just played the first 2 games.
And that's honestly the only reason why I tempered my criticism, is because it's one game in which he didn't play a lot of minutes, and the team was tremendously better. No matter what we believe, the team played tremendously better when Killian Hayes was in the game. And we often see that in the regular season too. The team plays better when he's in the game, whether he's scoring 15 or looking super aggressive. What I caution, or what I ask is this: what should he have done in that one game that would have made or changed or shifted the tide towards, this is a successful Summer League for Killian?
It's not about that one game, because, like I said, like, situationally, I get what happened in the first game. I just wish he would have played the second, because maybe the second he would have had more opportunities. I want him to. You see Stewart went out there, bang, 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 let it fly. Like that. This is your opportunity. Like, you're a starting point guard. You're playing alongside Jaden Ivey. You come the regular season, you're going to be our 6th or 7th man. Like, you're not gonna be awarded those same opportunities. Like, so I get why in the regular season, if you're scared to take shots, because situationally, like, you might get pulled. But in the Summer League, like, you're the dude. Like, you can go out there and be more aggressive. You can attack more, take more risks. But again, it goes back to the same point. Like, that's not Killian's game. Like, he plays the game the right way, and I get that. But I just thought, like, what I saw in game 1 out of Killian is what I'm going to see day 1 in the regular season. Like, it's the same thing. And that's my problem with it. Like, this is the time to go out there and be you, man. You got free reins.
I guess with me, with where this team is headed and with where he's kind of slotting himself, I guess my expectations have changed to, if day 1 in the NBA, he is a guy who can go out there and get you 10 and 5 off the bench.
I'm cool with that.
10, 6, and 6 or whatever it is, and shoot a good percentage and get to the free throw line and control the offense. Yeah. Now, as it relates to his defense, he should have been much more of a disruptor. We know this. In any court you find yourself playing basketball, and I don't care if it's on the Nerf rim, you have to go out there and try hard on defense all the time. We would get banged on our Nerf rims. You know what I mean? So, yeah, with Killian Hayes, when that's what you're supposed to be known by, to Rod's point, you got to go out there and continue to be what we know you to be. You got to live in people's jerseys. You have to make that impact. And we see defensive players, people that we state, because we start saying, oh, man, he could be our Marcus Smart on defense, or our this, or our Patrick Beverly. those guys went to Summer League, and regardless of what we thought of them on offense,
played hard.
They went ham on defense, and they play hard. And so I do want to see a little bit more out of that from Killian. But so I'm not here to like soften anything. My expectations have changed from super excited to get this starting point guard who's going to be here for a long time to I got to change my whole flow. You know, maybe this was just a miss. And that's more or less where I was coming from. If we saw game 2 and he looked exactly the same, in the decisions that you have to make with his contract coming up, it gets a little hairy.
Maybe that is just what he is. And I think that, Brandon, that's what you're trying to say is maybe that's what he is. And if he is that, and now that I go back and look at stats, he was a +7 to Brandon's point. And 7 points, 4 assists in 22 minutes. He played fewer minutes than Saban Lee. So maybe that is what he is. And is that good enough? Is that what you want with this team moving forward? Or are there other opportunities out there for other people? You don't have other guards that you're necessarily looking at, but I mean, if you're getting rid of Frank Jackson, is Killian the guy that you want to keep in that kind of scenario? Do you require shooting more than you do what Killian brings? And I think there's still more there to see. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater on Killian, but I'm saying this was an opportunity where I would love to, that first play that they ran right out the gate with Ivey to Duren, show me that with Killian. Show me that you got him a rim running center now, and he's going to take advantage of that.
You're right,
if Stewart isn't that and he played so much, exactly. Show me him in a ton of pick and roll. Show me him lobbing to Duren, and I have one little takeaway, one little play that I say, "Whoa, that's what it looks like," and I'm there.
Yeah, on those things, like you said, regardless of the shots, just the way you got to play. He played like we saw him play last year. So as it relates to improvement, it's like, nah, and that's me. It's just me. I'm just like, okay, so he can be a 6th man now, seventh player, and then we got to make some decisions. What is he, $7.5 million tender with $22 million cap hold or something like that? Like, until he signed,
something silly.
From that perspective, that's the question. What Rod is saying, not that anyone's not rooting for Killian. I want Killian to do well. I mean, man, this is day trois. You know what I'm saying? It's little France, man. Like, own this, man. Like, I want to see him go out there and own this. Me selfishly, like personally, I want to see him go out there and play as aggressively as we see him play when he gets mad. Like that game, I tell people, go in YouTube. Killian versus De'Aaron Fox, Killian versus Trae Young. I tell people, go and look at these games, these players that he's comfortable with, these players that make him a little mad, these players that are a little bit shorter. You see the confidence come out in spurts. He'll come out for like 10 points and then kind of just settle back down. And so I don't know what needs to happen. I've been trying to settle my expectations with some of these players into a role. But with this guy's cap hit, with where he was drafted, there are decisions that have to be made, man.
What it felt like to me is like Killian, getting benched and now considering himself. I think he's super self-aware. That's number one. Like, he understands, like, at this point, I'm an above-average role player. And I think going into the Summer League, he like still had that mentality. Like, I'm a role player. I'm gonna come out here. I have 7 points, 4 assists. And it's like the only question I had with Killian is just the efficiency numbers. It's the shooting. And it's not like he was inefficient the first game of the Summer League.
Style of play.
But I wanted him to like that's the number one question for Killian. Like, you're gonna have more opportunities to play off ball this year. Can you knock down consistently, 3-point shots? And I think he had one make game 1. I just want to see him be more aggressive. Like Isaiah Stewart, man. Like, he could have missed. He could have went 0 for 6. I still would have been like, I'll take it, Isaiah. At least you're out there shooting.
Like we said, we said that. We say, look, if these guys go 1-7, but it's within the flow, this shot look good, it's rimming out, we see that they're not just out there playing whatever ball, we'll take that.
Cool.
And I get that. From looking at the game and looking at how Killian plays and just looking at the game from that perspective and thinking 6, first guard off the bench, it's like, okay, cool. And that's where I was at. As it relates to, you're the 7th pick, man. You were the player that Troy wanted. You were the player that a lot of fans wanted. That from that expectation, I'm pissed. I'm mad.
And let me say this. Let me say this
from
too.
That perspective.
And we're not saying he's a scorer. He's not a scorer. I'm not. No one's saying that. I think
but he should run the pick and roll.
Exactly. In summer league, I think those narratives change though. Like you don't have to be a scorer, but come summer league, like Rod was hitting at earlier,
the three.
You're playing against inferior competition, guys that are trying to make rosters. Look at Imude. The first game or two, that guy was hitting like 15 points in one of the games, I think. So it's like if these guys can go out and get buckets, Killian, you're a third-year player. Go get yours, man. Go get yours. But I'm cool with it, man. I like Killian. I'm cool with it.
Even with the defensive piece that you wanted to just see him go out and be a dog on defense, 6 fouls though. 6 fouls in a summer league game. That's you got to be better, at least in my estimation. And we've seen the workout videos for Killian this summer, and he's been working on his jump shot. Show me that you don't lean anymore. Show me that you have balance on that three. The very, very little things like that is progression. Show me that in a game situation. And I don't know if he got hurt. I know he kind of collided with somebody and there was some other stuff. Just show me that that you can stay in a game, because every time he has one of those situations where he collides or he had a concussion last year. Yeah, he had a concussion last year in Summer League. Every injury that he has kind of knocks him off of his square of wrist. And he is the unluckiest injury person I think I've ever covered, is that everything is an injury for him. But just show me defensively you can do that. Show me a couple pick and roll plays and we out. That's you can sit the rest of Summer League. I'm good with that. So I guess I'm a little bit surprised that he even played that one game, because they didn't play Cade or Sadiq. So you just knew that you thought you might see a little bit of Killian, and maybe he had something to show, but you just wanted to see more. I wanted to see more, at least.
Yeah. He's just solid. That's what he is. You know,
No, you keep going.
No, I mean, that's kind of what we all have been hitting on. Like, I know people are going to comment, Killian, man, you guys are hating on Killian. It has nothing to do with it. It's just what we expected. Expectation versus reality. Like, I expected
to get paid.
Killian to come out, be a little more aggressive, show what you've been working on in the summer. We see the workout videos. We see the jumper. We see the finishing ability.
We didn't even see what you were working out.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that he comes out and is just – he's same old Killian, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that's just his game, like unselfish, little passive at times, but he makes the right play, and that's what I got game one. So to your point, like Brandon, I got what I needed to see. That's Killian. Like,
but it's
game
not
one,
good enough for the decisions we have to make coming up.
That's the problem. It's a career year for him. I could argue, big year for him.
Boy, so this is going to be the year of Killian, one way or the other.
One or the other.
One way or the other. It's going to be the year of Killian. And I saw from Amari, he said he thinks that with Ivey and Duren, that they'll fit what we're trying to do, getting up and down, being an exciting team, throwing the lobs to each other and such. He also said, shout out to Marvin Bagley. He said that it was easy for him to resign with the Pistons. This is from Amari Sankofa, the second from the Detroit Free Press. Said, I felt like this was the best situation for me. I love the city. I love the fans. So, hey, shout out to the fans. Shout out Detroit. I at least had to throw that part in there. But back to what he was stating about how the team is going to play. I see where Killian can be a big part of this, but for these guys, man, you got hungry guys out here now, man, like hungry guys. I see even in Bagley a certain hunger, a certain drive that they play with, a certain confidence that they play with. Man, like if you could just combine Saban Lee and Killian Hayes, it's like we got what we need, man. We would really have what we need.
Killian, look at Rod. He's like, well, we'll take that Saban Lee comment back.
What does that even look like? What does
give Killian the confidence, the athleticism. I'm telling you, man. Give him a little bit of the bounce, and we got a perfect player.
That might be like Marcus Smart right there, like straight up. The amount of times Marcus Smart shooting per game, man, like you might get a little confident.
I don't know what that 3-point shot is looking like.
Yeah, no. At least he's taking them though. At least he's taking.
Is that combination? Is it Sabian or Killian? Sabian or Killian?
Sabian. I like that one.
I like Killian.
Killian. Sheesh, well, that sounds like a superhero name there. Yeah. It's like their fusion, man. Sheesh, well, that's some Goku and Vegeta type stuff right there.
Oh, yeah.
Man, but, oh, my goodness, man, both of those guards I wanted to see a little bit more out of. And I've been trying to say, all right, it's just Summer League, but you're right. As it relates to situational, we all said we wanted to see what they'd be asked to do. Mm-hmm. We all said we wanted to see if they looked like they belonged and how. And it's just like, all right, yeah, Killian looked like he still going to be the same Killian, but I'm not really trying to pay potentially what it could be for that. Like, I don't know where his mindset is. I don't necessarily want a guard who, if you fall to 6-man from starting and you just accept your position because you understand what it can mean for the team, okay. Right. We've seen guards do that here. But if you're just settling into it, saying, oh, this is cooler, this is easier, this is it, I don't want that on the team, even if it could mean 10-5 off the bench.
Right.
It's that mindset that I'm going to look at, and that's what I'm hoping he has figured out.
I like the one comparison I like to make is him and Marcus Smart, just because Marcus coming out was older, but at the beginning didn't start for the Celtics, came off the bench, and then over time he was more aggressive
and persistent.
He was more aggressive. He unlocked that dog mentality, like, hey, I'm going to attack. Teams are going to view me as a threat. It's going to make my teammates better around me, and now Marcus Smart's starting on a championship team. So on a team that made the finals. So that's kind of like, I'm not saying Killian's going to be Marcus Smart. I'm not saying he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year, but I'm saying that unlocking of that dog mentality. Like, we know Killian, he's got the skill set, but can he get that? Like I guess Saban Lee has it. To my surprise, he's out there being a dog in G League, at Summer League. People get frustrated with him, but at least he has that dog in him. So if Killian can get to that point, man, I'll take it. It's a big year for him, and I think what's going to benefit him as well is the bench. Like last year, the bench, like you had Marvin Bagley, some pieces. But this year, now that you're adding a little more talent coming off that bench, now you have Duren, possibly, and Bagley, Livers, Hami as well, and you have Killian. That should just make him, number one, it's going to alleviate some pressure because now you have more talent around you. So he should be more aggressive at times. And fast break. He's going to have easy assist numbers. Last year, it's like the Cade argument. You're throwing to guys that can't finish, that can't shoot. Like, it's going to affect your assist numbers. So hopefully, I think everything's lined up for him to succeed this year. It's just up to him. It really is. Like, he's going to get a big role. It's just like, can you compromise?
That's the best thing, is that while we're still in the midst of the restoration and everything, we get this 1 year right here, this unique year with all of this talent.
Right.
To say, even if they, wind up in the lottery again, there's a lot that's going to be determined and figured out this season.
A lot of questions being answered.
A lot of questions that's going to be answered, man. A lot, from as small of questions like what's going to happen with Saban Lee to a little bit bigger decisions like, hey, what's going to happen with Killian Hayes? A lot of things are going to be figured out. Trade deadline is going to be very interesting this season. In my estimation, it seems to be interesting every year if you're a Pistons fan, let alone with Troy Weaver. So, yeah. Hey, we got the boss in. What's up, Stick? Got the boss in here. But
boss man.
Yeah. But as it relates to how this team may play, how they might get up and down, I believe that Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren have just injected so much more enthusiasm and hope for that. We hear Dwayne Casey, we hear these, the front office and Troy Weaver say things like, yeah, we want to be a team that can play fast, that can get up and down. We still want to play smart, which means even if you have a Killian Hayes who can potentially get up and down, sometimes he might be, without the right players around him, like we stated, it will stunt it. Yeah, I heard.
With his play style, you need talent.
Yeah. But I'm excited. As it relates to this new style, I'm hoping that's what takes precedence over what I believe is like 3-point hunting from some of these other teams, or how some of these other teams rely on kind of boxing 3-point, get as many 3-point shots up as possible. I kind of got excited seeing this team, even in the half court, taking better advantage of the athleticism. That's was
Troy's
fun.
Plan, man. He wants that. He wants all athletes.
That was fun. I mean, they're skilled athletes.
Yeah,
it's
not just athletes.
Yeah, it's good, sir. It's. I don't know, man. I'm excited for it. I want to see this team get up and down, and that's where the confidence of Killian Hayes really, really, really matters, because he's supposed to be the first guard off the bench. We know that the 3-guard rotation matters. I don't want to see passive Killian when you have Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren out there. Like, I could see that. Killian and Duren being the first 2 off the bench.
And think about this, too, like, and I'll let Rod kind of speak on this as well. Like, you draft Killian. The year after, you get Cade, a guard, point guard. And then the year after, you get Jaden Ivey, another guard. Mm-hmm. So it's like the writing's on the wall, like, in terms of his role. Now, you could play all 3 of them together at certain points of the game, which would be great. And I think we talked about talent off the bench. I think simply playing with Jaden Ivey, too. Like, a guy you can be able to toss the ball up to. Like, that's what Cade hit on as well. Like, just his speed in transition, get easy buckets. Mm-hmm. I think Jaden Ivey's going to help both of those guys, man. They're both playmakers. Jaden Ivey's just a freak, dynamic freak. Yeah. And I think he's going to, help him. Because, again, like, if Killian, there's going to be times where he's passive. give it to Jaden Ivey. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad we got both those guys.
Yep, and just to kind of concentrate more on Jaden Ivey, like I know we're kind of talking about all of the topics at once here, which I think is even better conversation.
A lot to digest, man.
Yeah, it is. But with Jaden Ivey, with Cade Cunningham, I know Ashton, the trainer, man. He said Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey is going to be a scary backcourt, OMG, and obviously that blew up on Twitter. And then he came back around and said, I think Detroit Pistons could be the 6th seed in the East.
Okay, well.
Now, look, we look, hey. Look, we're not going to project.
I was with you the first part.
We're not projecting that. I just had to throw the little sprinkler on there.
I love Ashton, man. Shout out to Ashton.
Shout out to Ashton. Hey, look, that's Cade's trainer, Cannon, his older brother as well. You trained him as well, and they both had pretty good college careers, man.
You know what's funny? Me and Sean, we did a stream last night during the game, and Ashton joined. He goes, "Man, watching this game," he goes, "Me and Cannon could have been out there." He goes, "Me and Cannon
could have."
He goes, "We could have been out there getting buckets." And
Rod, man, next year, Rod, Jeff, bro, look, we're gonna take our shoes. We're gonna get see if we can get a little jersey from like the equipment manager, and if they start shutting everybody down, we're gonna just slide on the end of the bench.
Dude, Rod would be knocked down.
No, see, so I told Jordan Brink, who's the summer league coach, I said, "Hey, with all these injuries, y'all need some bodies.
Let's go.
If y'all need one, let me know."
I still got it. Look at that.
He said, "I don't know about that." So I mean, you got to put it out there if you want to get in on the run. But I think what to that point with Jaden Ivey, what we saw in the first game was he looked a little sped up and out of rhythm. He left his feet and fell down quite a few times just because his brain was thinking a little bit faster than his body was going. And that's adrenaline. That's being in your first game and trying to do a lot. In that second game, when he came out for those first few minutes, you saw him slow that down completely. Yeah. And that's the skill. That's what you want to see from a young guy, that from game to game, those jitters, those butterflies, the changes that you have to make, the adjustments you have to make, that you're able to do those quickly and process that stuff quickly. And he did it from one game to the next, from Thursday to Saturday. He was able to slow all that stuff down. So that's a positive for me that, and you wanted to see more of him in that second game to see what that actually looks like. Hey, does that three really fall in like that? Are you really out here in transition like that? So I feel good about that backcourt is going to be dynamic. And again, that you can do different things with it, that you can play him with. We can play those two with Killian. You can play them with Sadiq at the 3 and whoever at the 4. This roster just really, really looks really good to me in terms of the versatility they can have and flexibility at several positions.
Yep. And with Jaden Ivey, there were several things that we talked about in our preview breakdown. I'd like to go back to those so people understand, like, we're really taking this stuff serious. We're really into film. We're really, into the breakdowns. We're really into studying about these players and trying to learn more about them, even intrinsically, because it matters to who they are as players at the next level. We're sitting here right now talking about the intrinsic things of Killian Hayes, not his skills, because we see them. It's what's going on up top as well. And so I'm glad we got that insight into Jaden Ivey, and he was a player that we knew to kind of clue in on early. So that was a player that we've been looking at for a long time. And the one thing that I loved, that I thought was elite, now I knew that there were better players, even Jabari Smith and Keegan Murray to a degree as it relates to their scoring ability. I just thought that at this level, and I told people this going back to Zion and John Morant, I had a young boy. He was like, at the time, like 16. And he was like, one of my friends' kids, and he was like, "Hey, who do you think is going to be the better player, John Morant or Zion?" I was like, John Morant. He was like, "No, man, do you see everything that he can do?" He's like, "Baby LeBron." Blah, blah. I was like, the way that the game is going and the way that NBA spacing operates,
right?
Not that he could not be this dominant player, but just even looking at where certain things might be going health-wise, I was like, John Morant is going to come in and definitely take advantage of. So you can look at some things that like some of these other players have done before him to kind of take advantage of where this spacing is going and how they're calling the game. young like guards like him get to the free throw line. That free throw rate is crazy.
Yeah,
for Ja Morant.
Especially Ja, man.
Yep, and that's what excited me about Jaden Ivey is that those types of players look elite in the NBA. Donovan Mitchell came in. There were a lot of questions about if he could shoot, if he could handle a rock well, if he could play make. Then he hit NBA spacing, and it was just like it doesn't matter. It was like for those guys, there's a trampoline in the middle of the key. Period. Like, how do you, and with the NBA zone, defend against Jaden Ivey cutting backcourt to catch a lob?
Yeah, it's like Luka Doncic is another one.
Yeah, and that's what got me excited when we started looking at Jaden Ivey as a potential prospect. Now, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm just sitting here after that second game. You see it in his face. The first game, we got word that he was nervous, that he had some jitters. We got that from very reliable sources, that were there. And they were like, yeah, he's a little nervous, but he's going to be all right. And we kind of saw that in the first half of that first game. Second half of the first game, he looked really good, settled in, settled down. He looked like okay, yeah, I can play this game. The second game, he stepped out on the court like, I'm that deal. We talked about this early. Like he stepped out there. And we want to see how these guys looking in their faces. What's the mentality going in? Where's that dog at?
Right.
And he just looked like it. Every bucket, Rod. Every bucket, Jeff. Every single bucket, dog. His face was like, I'm the man. I'm the man. Like, it was dope. Like, and the way that he was able to create space. Go back and look at those plays from that second game. I don't understand how he was able to get through, but I knew he was going to be able to do it at every level. I know it's just Summer League. I get that. So I'm trying to temper the expectations. But he did it in college.
Yes, he did.
At an elite level.
With no spacing,
no
really,
space.
at
He
college.
creates it. Look at the buckets he's scoring. All of those buckets he created in the second one.
And that's why I applaud. Like, I would much rather tell a player to pull back than to try and inspire him to speed up. Like, for Jaden Ivey, the fact that you have to tell him, all right, you're going at 110 miles per hour, crank it down to like 85. That's a good thing. Like, his mentality he plays with now, he's not reckless.
Hey,
he's
look,
not.
Bro, the cops will let you go if you go 85, not 110.
No. Some of those narratives, like with Russell Westbrook, like some guys get reckless. He's not reckless. Like, the shooting is you saw the shooting too, by the way. I know some shots that didn't count. He hit that one from like 3 feet behind the arc, and it didn't count. But just like you said, man, the attack mentality, he's going to go and go and go and go. He could be 4 for 14. He's still a threat at all times. So that's what I noticed about Jaden Ivey, man. He's just dynamic. He really is. Him and Cade are going to be quite the duo. And defensively, there's so much there that hasn't been unlocked yet, man. Like 6'4" with a 6'10" wingspan.
What's the potential of this duo? Because I am really, really excited. I feel like Jaden Ivey, for some reason, might get to maybe closer to 6, like even taller. Like, I don't think he's done growing. I think his measurables still might. And so even beyond that, just thinking about the prospects that he and Cade in terms of where they are right now, I'm very excited for the potential because he's showing that he's going to go out there and give his all. Like you say, he's showing, Jaden Ivey's showing, I'm going to go out there and go. And he reminds me of a guy like Sadiq Bey who's not going to necessarily stunt who he can be. He's just going to make sure he fits in properly. I don't want a guy who's going to come in, like we said, with Killian. We don't know. Is he just settling into a role? I want Jaden Ivey to be as much star as he can be. You know what I mean? I don't want him to say, well, I'm going to take a backseat to Cade. No. And I don't think Cade wants him to do that.
And Cade's game fits him perfectly.
That's what I'm stating. These guys fit. It's like fire and ice, like a combination.
That's the thing right there.
Yeah, and the methodical to the fast-paced, just the different sets you can run. If they truly get these guys to a position of interchangeability, just the different sets you can run. Just being able to take a team out of zone, not because you shot them out of it, but because Jaden Ivey's angles, bro, I don't understand it. They tried to zone him up, Rod, and he just went through the middle
double
of
teams. Yeah,
just
it's ridiculous.
I'm like,
yeah, just bro, the speed and everything. No, the speed and everything else. And I don't know if you're ready to segue, but when you look at Jalen Duren,
yeah, we can go there.
Jalen and Jaden changed the physics and the geometry of the court from the way the Pistons have been playing in the past couple of years. That you have this up in the air lob threat from the guard position and from the center position. Defensively, you've got another guy who's speedy like that, who can get out on the wings and disrupt passing lanes. You have a center who's protecting the rim for you. Stewart does that, obviously, but now you've got it. That's just a man child that's sort of there. He's getting offensive, with offensive rebounds, and he's dunking on people. That's it changes the equation of how we look at their offense and what they're capable of doing.
Yep. Yeah, this is definitely a good segue. I think, as we talk about Jalen Duren, I heard King before the game, Everything King, shout out to him, one of our guys from the Table Talk crew. He's done a lot to help us grow our platform. He said before the first game, look, baby Dwight Howard. Now, I didn't necessarily get that sense when we were going through our draft prospect. But what I saw him doing kind of in Summer League, I was like, man, this guy dunks literally everything. It's like from that school of Rasheed Wallace. That one year that she was assistant coach with Drummond, and Drummond was dunking everything. Like, Drummond's best dunks come from, like, that year when he dunked on Elton Brand on the full court. I was like, woo. And she was like, woo, on the sidelines. I see that in Jalen Duren, but a guy whose motor never turns off, man. No. I didn't see people say, oh, man, you got to worry about his motor, is this, is that. I'm like, well, I'm going to look for this. I didn't really see him not play energetic and tough and trying to go after everything and dunked everything, literally like baby Dwight. Like, woo, man. And the alley-oop, even the alley-oop. Jaden Ivey, that was a bad lob. That was that first one.
You just got to throw it. You just got to throw it in his area code, man.
It didn't matter.
His area code.
So, yeah, like, I remember when Andre Drummond left, and I thought that players like that are hard to find. Like, it doesn't matter what you think about his motor. It doesn't matter what you thought about if he was shooting right or not. From the lob threat, the offensive and defensive reboundings, the prowess that he did show at stocks, man. He was the top center in stocks, steals and blocks combination. He just was. And he was the only center in, the top 10 in blocks in the NBA. That was Andre Drummond, no matter what people want to think. And he could guard the perimeter. You telling me we just plucked him from the Knicks for, what was it again? Skittles, Twizzlers, and what? Some M&Ms? That's exciting. If this stuff really translates to if this stuff really translates, dog, because that's based off Rod's tweet, man.
Leon Rose, man, he's a sucker for candy. He's a sucker for candy.
But it's like if these people now showed it in college to be the most proficient at what they do, I believe we got the best guard and best center prospect. They showed it in Summer League, to my estimation. If this thing translates to the NBA, man, what? Goodness gracious! Like I gotta ask, what is the potential starting five here, just based off of our early Summer League overreactions?
Rod, you go first, because I want to ask you before you answer, too. I asked you this last time with Jalen Duren. Seeing him in Summer League, do you feel like the possibility of him still going to the G League is a thing, or you think physically he's going to be out there playing 15 minutes a night opening night?
He'll be out there. He'll be out there.
I think that's answered already. I know people were talking about that. Can he spend time in the G League? I don't think so.
I'm almost like, where did these questions come from?
No, and I think I was couching that in the you don't have to rush him along and make him fit in the roster because he's 18 and he's a little bit raw. Yeah, raw, whatever. That's like raw eggs. You put those in the glass. You like Rocky and just
you're still cooking. Yeah,
you're still no. He's got the physique, and just seeing him up close, he's got the physique that he can play right now. That's not even a question. And it's just whether he understands stuff. And I think it was Isaiah Livers who said, he didn't get to practice leading up to it. He didn't practice until they got in Vegas. But he picked up so much so quickly that it just shows you that he just gets it, he absorbs it, and he understands what he's supposed to do. So that first lob might have been one of the only plays that he knew that they were able to run in practice to get him accustomed to what they were doing, and that went pretty well. I mean, sometimes those physical abilities are going to overtake the stuff that you don't know and the things that you struggle with. Hey, just throw the ball up there. I'll go get it. I got you. You say I need to be right here where this X is, and I need to come and dunk the ball when it comes. Okay, I got it, coach. There we go. And that's what it felt like with Jalen Duren. It's just very much. He wasn't nervous. He didn't have jitters. I talked to him for a minute, but that's just the way he's wired. Is he's been prepared for this opportunity and this moment, and he's been looking forward to being in the NBA, and he's taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, and just the fact that this is the place that he wants to be at. Like you talked about in the other podcast, that man, he didn't let go of that jersey, man. He was like, I don't care if the details have been made official. Like, I'm a Piston. Like, that was so awesome to see. Like, it was really awesome to see. I know Ashton, the trainer, he was tweeting that, like, yo, look at all these players. Who said that they don't want to be here? These are our top college players who we're hoping can become stars, who, if they went to other teams, we believe, no, we'll never have an opportunity to have them. Cade Cunningham is here. Like, like this is a huge thing, man. And with Jalen Duren, I just, like we all keep saying, he's definitely looking ready to contribute night one.
Yeah.
Night one. And if he can come in here and impose, like his body can be something that is imposing a certain will before he actually figures everything else out, then yeah, you can situationally play him in a lot of different ways, especially with Killian Hayes. Just, hey, pick and roll off the bench.
Right.
Like all day long. And with him in the position he plays and that little 16-footer, if they give him
I was about to say, I think he can pick a pop too.
Yeah.
He can do it.
Yep, just tell him, hey, look,
15-footer.
you're going out here. It's 7 minutes of pick and rolls. Tire up, make them pull their starting guard out the game. Like, seriously, like, so if somebody is hot and you don't really want to burn those fouls on your starting center, hey, Duren, go out there, man. You know what I'm saying? These are, strategies and things that teams will employ. We've seen it with our backup. Hey, Jason Maxwell, go out there, set pick and roll. Then all of a sudden the starting guard is coming out of the other team is coming out the game. Done caught either an elbow to the hip, a knee to the thigh on a pick and roll or something. Just anything. But that type of what he could bring to the table, from just a pick and roll game to the athleticism to rebounds to just being a threat. I saw a couple times, and you can go back and check the footage. There were a couple times when players just chose not to challenge him. You often see these guards going really, really heavy, and then they do the one arm swing pass out of the paint out to the shooters just because Jalen Duren's sitting there.
Right.
That's what I like to see. I don't even know what his reputation is as a menacing, paint, rim protecting shot blocker. But people, at least in that summer league, were like, you know what? I don't want to find out. And so,
yeah, that's a business decision.
Yeah,
they made a complete business decision on that.
Yep. With and this was something that I know Jeff, he was asking as well, because I know you asked Rod the question about Duren. But what are we seeing? What's the 5 and then the first 2 or 3 off the bench?
I'm gonna go for I got 2. I got a preference, and I got what I think will happen. My preference is Cade, Jaden Ivey, Sadiq, Isaiah Livers, and Isaiah Stewart. That's my preference. I would rather have that because the spacing and the switchability, the versatility with that lineup, and then you have Bagley off the bench playing with Killian. You have buckets off the bench, and you have Killian that can work with him in a pick and roll. I think that'd be nice. But my prediction is Cade, Jaden Ivey, Sadiq, Bagley, and Stewart. I think Bagley will start. But if I had a preference, I think, man, both wings. I mean, Isaiah Livers and Sadiq, pick one. They pick one.
That's an interesting one, man. I like that one.
Yeah,
I
think it's really those two. I think Beef Stew, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rod, I feel like he's guaranteed. I feel like he should start Beef. I don't know for sure. Who else? Maybe Nerlens Noel. But then again, it's like Isaiah has improved his shot. I feel like he's earned it. He should start. It's really that 4 spot for me.
Let me throw something at you.
Let's go.
I mean, I think everybody's going to say Cade, Ivey, and Sadiq. It's just where you put Sadiq at the 3 or the 4. I'm going to say Stewart, and then I'm going to go. Don't forget. I'm not going to predict this, but I'll say don't forget Kelly Olynyk. Don't forget him, that he's out there as your other spacer. That if one of those guys has to rebound, that you can keep Stewart inside and then you can play Kelly outside. But I think Duren's got a chance to be able to start and just be the impact that he had defensively on the inside changes everything. The lob threat, if you're going to give him that opportunity. Again, I don't know. I think there might be a trade somewhere in the works because you've got an embarrassment of riches in terms of big men now, and just options of different things that you can do. So,
yeah, I think Duren will start eventually. Just probably towards the back end of the season. I could see him just impressing so much. Like, hey, listen, we need this guy in the starting lineup.
Yep. Yeah, and the one thing that I know people like to kind of get on Casey sometimes with his rotations and how he handles young players. Look, if they're ready, they're going to go.
Exactly.
If they need time, we see now. Killian needed more time, and they said it was going to be a development. Early on, people said, just let him go, just let him go. We're not working on developing bad habits. That's Casey's mantra. You know, and I would rather them, if they say we can have Killian right in 3 or 4 years and they believe that, you know what, I'm going to trust you on that. Because we've also seen if a Cade or a Sadiq Bey or a Beef Stew are ready to go, they're not putting reins on those guys.
Right.
Sadiq scored 50 in year 2. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and he's still working, man.
Like, you know, they're not putting reins on anything. They're just trying to make sure that they are safely ushering these people into the, you know, in their development.
Who's your 5?
That's what I was about to get into.
What you thinking?
You know, Rod stole my thunder a little bit. I was gonna say I believe that Jalen Duren is ready to start day one. That's my hypothetical. Like, I believe as the summer goes on, he's gonna develop. He's gonna be good to go. Just because I believe, not that he has to play tons of minutes, not that I believe he's gonna be the starter that's playing like 35, 40 minutes a game to start, but I can see a situation where they're just trying to come out the gate and punch teams in the mouth with guys who are go, 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 go. And with what I did see out of him in Summer League, it was what we wanted to see, an improvement over what we thought we saw from college, or like with Killian. Like, let's see if you've improved. Let's see. I saw the improvement out of him. I saw that he belonged. And if he brings that to the NBA, that dunk everything, I don't know how you necessarily keep that on the bench, except for the fact that you just like maybe what a certain combination of players brings to the table, and then maybe, you know, because I got to see what he's going to be defensively. We got to see what Duren's going to be defensively. But I don't know. I see him as the 5. I see the Stu as the 4. Then Sadiq, Ivy, and Cade. That's my kind of what I want to see. I believe that we'll have spacing. I like the ability of Stu and Duren kind of in the middle, just wreaking havoc, but also when necessary, being able to step out a little bit and shoot. And I want to see their combination of players, because they just seem to be guys who play very, very, very tough, but they're the guys that other teams say, I hate them.
Right. I
don't think that other teams are saying that about Marvin Bagley. But when I see Duren play, I can see these guys are going to make people upset. You know, and that's kind of, I don't know, man. If Duren shows everything that we've seen and the physicality is there, can you imagine him and Beef Stew in the paint?
Oh, it'd be.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Nobody wants that smoke.
Yeah, and then to your point, Rod, with the Kelly O thing, I don't know, you know, like we don't know what's going to happen. It seems like a trade has to happen, because we're sitting here talking. I keep forgetting about Kelly O, but when he was signed, it was for a purpose. We knew the type of player he was. It's unfortunate that he got injured. In some of the spurts he played, we did see a player who's definitely worthy of starting. We did. There were some spurts where you could tell, okay, but it wasn't necessarily enough. I don't know what you can rely on with Kelly O, but if we get the Kelly Olynyk that I thought we were going to get, his floor spacing, his floor maturity, I don't know what you want to call it, just his IQ, his ability to take the ball off of a defensive rebound and literally laser it down, pinpoint pass to players. His full court passing, his transition passing, I believe it's something great off the bench as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a player like that day one starting as a vet on the court with a team full of young guys. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, that kind of, it would make sense to me. But I'm hoping to see a combo, just to reiterate. And you guys let us know what you want to see, man. What do you think is going to happen? What do you want to see? Let us know in the comments. But, yeah, I think Duren, Stu, Bey, Ivy, and Cunningham.
I like it.
But yours is interesting, man.
Yeah, like the only reason why, and my lineup's pretty small, the one I prefer. But I just feel like with Cade and Jaden Ivey, like if you want these guys to ultimately get where you expect them to be, and you have the ability to run the floor, and not only that, but space the floor. It's not just Sadiq who can hit shots. If you have Livers in that lineup, and they'll play them, and you know, there'll be lineups with Livers at the 4 and Beef Stew at the 5. Like all 5 guys can spot up, hit shots. Like who are you? Everybody's a threat. Like with Duren, I think he can hit that 15-footer, which he can, but if Stu's not hitting shots consistently, I just worry about that spacing. Right. Because then you have 2 guys now that are not liabilities, but can't step out and hit shots. Like Sadiq can. We know what Sadiq brings. We know Cade is going to get better. Obviously, he can knock down shots. But that's why I bring up that small ball lineup. But I think Bagley, just because we paid him, I feel like he'll be starting. Something tells me about that. I don't know. I think he also deserves it in a way, but he could lose it too. I think the lineups could change the regular season too. So
what would be the consensus sensible pick then? Would it be Bagley, Beef Stew, Ivy, Cade, and Sadiq.
Yeah.
It's probably the most sensible.
Although I still prefer Bagley off the bench. I think just to have that punch off the bench with his 15 points and 15 and 8 off the bench.
It's like he's going to bring that.
Yeah.
Out of all the guys
Like,
we're talking about on the bench, if he was there, he's the one that I know is going to bring.
And he can play with free reins.
15 and 8 every single.
He can do what he does best. Offense. Get out there and get buckets. Like it's not.
That's true. I do have questions about him defensively.
That's the thing. Like maybe that's why he might not start. Who knows?
Rob, what you thinking
Rob's
about,
over
brother?
there brainstorming. This is tough. But this is a good conversation because this is the plus. The versatility, the flexibility.
Yep, we can
you
see
can,
what
you
Troy's
can make
doing.
like 3 or 4 different lineups. It's
Yeah, I was gonna say something like Kelly and Duren coming off the bench would be something nasty too.
yeah,
I would.
yeah.
Because you give Killian that lob threat, and then you got Bagley. It's just so many directions you could go with that.
It's like a brain.
You could go livers. So what does that give you? That gives you Killian, Burks, livers, Duren. Sheesh.
And they're balanced.
Potential, man.
They're balanced
Potential.
as it relates to what they can pull. In the past, it was, well, maybe there's a gluttony of guards off the bench, or maybe
Yeah,
there's a
no,
gluttony
they're
of
10
forwards.
deep.
It's kind of balanced. They have bigs, they have guards, they have wings, they have shooters, they
A
have
little bit of veterans.
a little bit of veterans. They have some guys who, if they wanted to split their angry on defense guys like Beef, Stew, and Duren up, they could do that. Like they have that ability now. It's no longer like Stu is the only guy that we're relying on now to be an animal in the paint, even though his measurables sometimes get in the way of that. He tries extremely hard. Now we got a guy like Duren who, when that gets in the way, or if Beef Stew picks up a couple fouls, if they are split up and one's coming off the bench, I love the fact that they can bring in another pit bull.
Yep.
Those are signatures of previous Pistons teams when we're talking about restoration. It wasn't just
Can I-
Ben
can I-
Wallace. What's up?
Can I just say something about Stu?
Yeah.
Did you see how he ragdoll tossed the dude, just kind of pushed him in the first game and got a
Yeah.
check for it? Just who does that in summer league? You're just a bully at that point. If
It's
you're
what I
pushing
told
people,
you about these
yes,
guys.
yes,
He was
it-
doing that as a
it was a
kid.
super flop. It was a super flop. But my
Taking lunch
man's
money.
got a tech in summer league, and we're sitting here trying to figure out how much does a tech cost in summer league, or does it cost anything at all? Because he just did that like, go over
Yeah.
there. I need you to go over there. Like he used a force on him and just pushed him over in the
Yeah.
corner.
Dude, I don't know, man. It's a lot of versatility. I know we have to continue to try and temper, but this is the Overreaction show today. We get to give ourselves hey, it's the big boss, Adam. What's good? Oh my God. Today's the day we needed the camera.
I know. If we really could record things, we see people passing by doing things.
Oh, goodness gracious. But yeah, man, what were we talking about, bro?
You just lost your train of thought real quick, aren't
Totally
you?
did, man. Totally did. But
Talking about
Yeah.
Isaiah Stewart being
yeah,
a
with
bully.
Beef Stew. Yeah, I don't know. This team has a lot of versatility. We're going to continue to temper it. We're just talking our hypotheticals. We're talking about where we think this team is going to go because hey, it has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that with Bagley, if they signed him the way they did, I think it's just because they know what he's going to do. They're going to ask him to do what he does, rather than with a Duren who's coming in. They see some skills, they see some traits. They might believe that they can foundationally set him off a little bit better than they did Marvin Bagley in Sacramento. That gives him an opportunity to be something a little bit more, rather than a player who is kind of, this is what I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that kind of wraps it up. Any last words on the Pistons before we just talk briefly on some of the other prospects we've seen from some of the other teams?
No, I got everything.
That's pretty good. Like,
Yeah, I think we covered it all.
what'd you say?
I think we got it all.
Yeah,
We nailed it.
I guess, and real quickly then with the chase down, I guess we can say that part of that was our K's on. We talked about Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, but with some of these other prospects, we know that a lot of them have gotten shut down. But Paolo, he definitely looked like he was deserving of the #1 pick.
He's that dude, man.
Jaden Ivey, to me overall, I know he's a Pistons player, but I believe in a redraft, just based on some things we've seen, hey, he might get a little bit more looks. Chet, he's kind of impressing me on some ways, and then there's other ways where guys are like just kind of bowling him over, dog. I'm just like, there was one play,
They're
dog.
picking him up like a napkin.
Where I'm like, dog, that wasn't even a foul. Like another player, you know how in the paint, you know, the defender, he gets bumped, you bump back. Chet just rolled over on the arm bar. And I'm just like,
timber.
Oh my gosh,
timber.
Dog. But I'm not gonna hate on him. Offensively and even defensively, he's shown some things that we have questions about.
He's gonna be a stud.
He's gonna be nice.
The only thing I always question with Chet, and I still do, is the ability to last 82 games. That's it. And I'm still gonna keep that same sentiment until he finishes the regular season. But in terms of his skill set, no question.
No,
he's got the entire package.
I think there was some of that. Who was it? Was it Lofton from Memphis?
Kenny. Kenny.
Yeah, he just kind of backed him down and just took him to the rack like a child. Just like let me show you this right at the rim, and just took him. Come on, man, you can't. Yeah. Okay,
and he's like 6'7".
In fairness, in fairness, Chet did show some things that. Just show me Jalen Duren and Chet. Can we fast forward to that in the regular season, please? I just want to see that in an NBA setting where you can't pack it in a 2-3 zone or something like that. Just give me 5 minutes of that cage match.
Yep. Yeah, and that's where things start to get dicey. It's like where you can definitely look and say, hey, Chet is going to be a fantastic player, when we have to sit and realistically say, hey, what's happening when Jalen Duren and Chet link up? Like, look, Rod, we asked this question during the prospect breakdowns and even earlier, when we was like, yo, what happens when Andre Drummond off the bench and Chet Holmgren link up? You know, we're talking about Jalen Duren, who that motor does not stop, man, at all. But that's going to be an interesting one. Jabari Smith, you know,
well,
kind of showed what I thought he would show. I'm happy with Jaden Ivey.
Oh, look at you walking back now.
Oh my God.
But this is the thing, and this is the thing too. This will like explain a lot of these prospects, man. Like, destination matters. Like, where you get drafted to matters.
Yep.
Like,
what you're asked to do.
It really does. And I think with Chet in OKC, perfect fit. Paulo in Orlando, perfect fit. Jabari in Houston, terrible fit. I don't like it. I don't like it. I just don't. A guy who struggles to create his own shot, relies a lot on. He needs a playmaker. That's why we loved him in Detroit, because you walk in with Cade.
Yep.
And I think that would have been great. He'd fit perfectly right now in the Pistons, but I'm happy we have Jaden Ivey. I just think Houston's a weird fit. Like, they don't have any playmakers in Summer League.
And they don't have any playmakers
regular season.
Let me say this about Paolo too, because I saw Paolo in the tunnel in the post game. That dude is a boogeyman. He is like 6'10". Yeah, you see 6'10", and you're like, okay, well, yeah, he's really 6'8". That dude is like 6'10" and a monster. He is huge in terms of his stature and just everything. That dude is going to be a problem. I talked to some people around the league, and they were just like, yeah, that dude is just, for the things that he can do at that size and height, it's going to be a problem for a really long time. And Orlando has a way of kind of obscuring some of those things. You don't get to stand out like that in Orlando because they don't have the other pieces around it. Right. Typically, now this time I think he might be something. He's going to be a problem for them.
I'm not going to toot my own horn. I'm not going to toot my own horn yet. But he was my number one player before. But that's not the point, because he was a number one player for a lot of people. I'm not bragging about that, but I am going to stick by. I think he'll be the if I had to bet money on someone being an all-star, it was Paolo, and I've always been saying that just because of what he can do at his size, like Rod said. Like, and he's going to have free reigns in Orlando.
It is impressive, man. The things that we're seeing from him, it's impressive.
Yeah, and Jabari defensively, I think that needs to be talked about, because offensively, he had a great game against the Spurs the other night. Defensively, Jabari's that dude. Like, he has a motor defensively. And I think Houston, they got a good pick. I think he'll be great, but I just think it's going to hurt. He's going to have to learn quicker how to create his own shot in Houston. Like, you're going to need to learn to create space, get buckets. Like, you're not going to have,
it feels like
you're
that's
not going to be
the whole
spoon-fed.
Houston team.
Yeah.
That's a horrible situation for a guy like that, who everybody said his one flaw is that he does not create his own offense.
And now he has to.
Now he has to, because when he gets the ball, if he does not shoot, who's going to give it back to him? Jalen Green? KPJ?
We haven't seen that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's...
Yeah, but his backcourt is a complete disaster anyway. Like, they were trying to figure out ways for him not to win. So anything will be better than that.
Yeah. It's these prospects, man. This draft class has looked impressive. It really has. It's honestly the past couple draft classes have looked really, really impressive. Has there been any other players from Summer League, even if they're not rookies, that have from other teams that have impressed you guys at all?
I like Ben Mathurin last night. I liked what he did, just showing that he can be. I mean, the same stuff that we were talking about with him possibly being that number 5 pick was that he showed all of that stuff last night. Just athletic, just able to shoot
the three,
do some things. Yeah.
I think mine would be Keegan Murray. I knew he was the most NBA ready. He's 22 years old, so I'm not surprised. Just him playing well. I'm surprised just how consistent he is. Like every night, 20 points, book it. 20 and 10.
And he looked the same way doing it, too.
The same way. I mean, he was hitting, 3 for 5 from 3, 4 for 9 from 3. Like, the Kings, and that was never the question about, we never said he was a bad player. We just preferred Jaden Ivey over Keegan Murray, and I still do. But looking at it from the Kings' perspective, they got the right guy. He's going to fit really well with Sacramento.
For them. And we joked about it and said the Kings are going Kings, but they got the guy. They looked at it and said, hey, if we're trying to win something now and pair with Sabonis and get some other guys, I mean, the thought is that he can be the Harrison Barnes replacement and play that style of ball. And I mean, that's exactly
a higher level, a higher potential.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that, man, because I know for us it's a little bit different now. In the past, as a Pistons fan, we see our prospect, we clue in on our prospect, and we just hone in, and that's what we want. In this position, it's a little bit different when you're going through and you're listening to the interviews of these guys. You're not just looking at the highlights. You're actually going in, you're looking at the interviews. You're looking for the life stories. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at their games. You're looking at the situations. You're looking at the times they came through. You're looking at the times that they failed. It's a little bit different. So when you do see some of these other prospects on these other teams, how Jabari Smith or Chet Holmgren or Paolo or these guys are doing, it does matter. You want to peep in, and it's good, Chris. You want to peep in and you want to see, hey, how are these guys doing? It's not like necessarily like I'm a fan, but I'm also not rooting for these guys to fail.
And let me give you one more.
See these guys do good.
Let me give you one more under the radar guy that I liked what he did. For Orlando was Caleb Houston from Michigan. I got to see him play in 2 games, and he's not super flashy, but he just puts up numbers and he gets the job done. And he looks 6'7", 6'8", every bit of it. But I thought that he might struggle in the transition going to the league. He looked like, at least on a summer league team, that he fit. He knew what he was doing. And he knew in the pecking order of what Orlando had with Xavier Simpson and with Paolo, he knew how to play his role on that team. And I think that's going to help him too.
Yeah, it's Michigan guys all over the NBA. It's all over that Orlando roster. But it's interesting to see how those guys play. I think more and more teams are going to start looking at their prospects, no matter where they fall in the draft. Right. They just contribute. They can slot into a role. Like that's
Howard.
Yeesh, man, that's awesome.
And one guy I want to bring up just quickly is Jaden Hardy, because a guy that was supposed to go.
You talked about him pre
yes,
draft.
and I love Jaden Hardy, and I was shocked he fell all the way to the second round, and I wanted the Pistons to pick him, but I get why they didn't. I mean, it's just too many guys like that need big roles, and Jaden Hardy to now Dallas. He's playing in Dallas. He had a great summer league, man. For a second round pick, I mean, we picked Procida before him,
right?
So, think about that. Like, he fell a lot later than he should have, but yeah, he's been balling in the summer league. So, from Detroit,
and it's cool to talk about it. Like, we're gonna be guys on this show who understand what Troy is trying to do and understand that it's his puzzle he's trying to put together. But that doesn't mean that we can't say I would have preferred this or preferred that or whatnot. And you're right. That is one that I think. I think that is one that people might talk about later. We'll see. I think he's going to a good situation in Dallas.
Luka,
that's a really good situation for him because there is absolutely no pressure. Not on him.
No, just get
especially
buckets.
with where he's picked and all that. So that's going to be an interesting one, man. But Troy just does what he does, man. He overturns these second-round picks so much. We see some of them in line to contribute right now. So it's going to be an interesting thing, but that one did. That's an interesting one, man. That Jaden Hardy one is going to be one I guess from the city connections and everything as well.
Got root for him.
Yeah, definitely got to. But is that it? Is that it, fellas, man? I think that was a good one.
Oh,
what
yeah.
do, man? Hey, listen, tell us what you guys want to hear next week. put it in the comments. But let's get that drum roll going. Hey, yo, to the legend, Detroit News, Rob Beard. As always, man, thank you and appreciative of your time.
Yeah, always.
Mr. Everything, Jeff Iyer Freddy.
Appreciate
Detroit
you guys.
Kool-Aid and Woodward